It's Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, 6 p.m. This regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners is called to order. If you will, join Mr. Trask in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this evening will find favor in your sight. This we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Hendricks,
Here.
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Here.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Here.
Commissioner Kerr,
Here.
Commissioner Hudson.
Here.
Okay, first is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes anyone would like to make?
Everybody good? I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is presentations and proclamations. First presentation tonight will be one to the city from someone that has worked really hard for this community. She's really been a champion to this community. And I would like to be the first one up here to say hi and welcome my good friend, Linda Cheney.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. Thank you, community of Madeira Beach. It has been my great pleasure to represent you all in Tallahassee. Many of you know that I've lived in St. Pete Beach for 30 years, so my heart is in the beaches. And I recognize many of you. I appreciate you all so much. Today, I am here to present you with a check to fully pay for the dredging of Johns Pass. And, you know, so many people got this project into, use football terminology, the red zone. And I was just here to take it that final couple of feet. But there's a lot of people who worked very, very hard. Members of this commission, the mayor, Dylan Hubbard, the members of Johns Pass, the Save Johns Pass, so many residents, so many people worked for so long on this, and you all deserve a big thank you as well. You did a terrific job. If it weren't for the groundwork you laid and all of the work that you did, I could not have done what I did. And I also need to say a thank you to my fellow legislators and to Governor DeSantis, who put the final approval on this check. So with great pleasure, I present to the city of Madeira Beach a check in the amount of $1,556,000. Yeah. It's my pleasure. And so while I'm here, I'm going to let you know what a great job your mayor and the commission has done working with me, your lobby firm. And my first session as a freshman in 2020-21, we got your beach groin rehabs funded, the rehabilitation of the beach groins funded at $1,750,000. We also got roadway improvements, $549,000. And then this year, of course, we got the Johns Pass, and we also did a road project to do some drainage for $1 million. So Madeira Beach has been the beneficiary of state money, which is your tax dollars coming back into your community in the amount of $4,855,400.
I have to tell you, Linda and I spoke when we were keeping our fingers crossed that this went through. She was calling the governor's office every day to be sure this didn't get vetoed. And there were a lot of projects that did get vetoed, but this one made it. So thank you again, Representative Cheney. I can't thank you enough. Okay, now I've got to put my glasses back on. Next is the American Legion. Good. Darn, I was planning on taking that home. Do we not have a representative from the American Legion here tonight?
Not present, but
Okay,
we can defer to the next meeting.
yes, yes. And we'll move on to Northside Engineering. I understand that Northside Engineering here has a little something for us also.
Good evening. My name is Hush Kovahi. I am with Northside Engineering and I live in this wonderful town of Madeira Beach that we all love so much. So tonight I'm here to, with greatest honor, present you with a check in the amount of $1,000. Doesn't come very close, never near what Representative Cheney just presented to you, but it comes from our heart, and we would like to dedicate this money towards the Memorial Park.
Thank you so much.
With
And
that,
I would. Let me run down there. While we're on the subject of the Court of Honor, which is what this donation from Hush and Northside Engineering is for, we are moving forward with a Court of Honor. I don't know if everyone knows about that. Northside Engineering is also doing all the engineering work pro bono for the city. So that's another big expense that we don't have. So they've really gone overboard on getting this done for us. And if we don't have a representative here from American Legion, I will tell you now, I guess, the American Legion has already given us a check for $25,000 for the Court of Honor. And they've given us another $5,000 to have our high water rescue vehicle painted. So this, I can't say enough about how this community is coming together. Wish I had my sunglasses on. But anyhow, I want to thank Northside Engineering, Hoosh, and the American Legion for all they're doing for this community. Next is Gulf Beaches Rotary Club. They have a presentation for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Good to be here tonight. My name is John Marr. I'm the chairman of the Gulf Beaches Rotary Carnival that we do each year in conjunction with the city of Madeira Beach. I agree with Hoosh. Linda Cheney is a hard act to follow, but we're going to try. Every year, I guess for the last 6 years, we've had a carnival here in Madeira Beach, and it's a family-oriented event. I'm sure a lot of y'all have come out and seen it, and it's a lot of fun and lasts for 4 days. And we've done it, and it's, it takes a lot of hard work. A lot of volunteers and people in the club are here and represent us all, but just appreciate the partnership with the city very much. We work closely with Jay, and it means a lot to the club. So we appreciate it. We look forward to continuing to do it for many years to come. Tonight, I'm here to present you with a check for $20,894.14 as the city's share for the rec department. So again, thank you for your support.
Thank you, John.
Get up there. Get up there, Charles. Hit the mayor in the middle. Yeah, mayor, get in there. Come on. You're welcome.
Okay, Vice Mayor, would you like to take over? I've got all the money now. Okay, next is recognition of years of service. Madeira Beach Fire Department, Chief Belk.
Excuse me, Mayor, Commissioners, we're going to switch E and F. So I think the chief's going to start with item F.
Okay.
Sorry, my apologies.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for giving us a few moments this evening for some well-deserved recognition. Dustin, Jay, would you like to step forward? Dustin Reed and Jay Cox were paddleboarding in the vicinity of Johns Pass on May 18th, 2022, when 4 individuals were swept into the pass and out into the Gulf of Mexico. Dustin and Jay, recognizing these people needed help, they went into action and selflessly put their lives in danger and successfully rescued 3 of the swimmers. Throughout my career, I've been told by many people I could never do your job. And I tell everybody, you'd be surprised what you would do for a complete stranger who truly needed your help. Dustin and Jay experienced this exact statement and acted with no regard to their own safety. It is my pleasure to present Dustin Reed and Jay Cox the Madeira Beach Fire Department Good Samaritan Award. Next, we'll do the Years of Service Awards. So longevity is an attribute that is sometimes overlooked but is an invaluable asset to any organization. Mentorship of new hires, stability of the organization, and it speaks on the environment and overall job satisfaction when you have these long tenured employees, obviously. So with that being said, I would like to present longevity award of 15 years to driver engineer Dominic Bueller. Next, we have driver engineer Ryan Roberts, 10 years. I'm not gonna tell you. And next is Lieutenant Andy Childers, 10 years of service. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, buddy.
Never ends well.
While I have Lieutenant Childers up here, I would like to take a moment to recognize him as well. On July 27th, 2022, a water rescue came out in the area of Archibald Park. So on beachside calls, what we do is we've implemented a divide and conquer kind of model where the lieutenant will take the Polaris to the beach, the boat will continue on the water. When Lieutenant Childers arrived on scene, he witnessed a swimmer in distress, deployed the surface water rescue board, and paddled out to the individual who was exhausted and made it back to shore with him. So yes, this is what we are paid to do, but it does not mean that we cannot recognize acts such as this one. So it is my pleasure to award Lieutenant Andy Childers the Outstanding Service Award. Everybody. Thank you. Absolutely.
This is going to be a hard night to top. Next is public comment. Anyone who would like to make public comment on anything that is not on the agenda, please step up to the podium, state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to speak. Anything that is on the agenda, you'll have time when that item comes up to speak.
My name is Jean Farnan. I'm at 574 Johns Pass Avenue. And I would just maybe like the city planning department to provide some sort of a seminar on all these changes that they have done, amendments to setbacks for accessories and different things, especially on waterfront lots. And if you read through the ordinances, you know, you're thinking it says one thing and then you're seeing another thing, and it would just be really nice to have some sort of an informational type of thing. You know, I know that there's been discussions about pergolas are allowed. No, they're not allowed. But I would really appreciate if we could have some sort of an education, especially for waterfront lots. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, good evening. Chelsea Nelson, 420 Boca Ciega Drive. Two things I wanted to comment on. One was to continue to request additional bike racks in Madeira Beach. We just have quite the scarcity of them, and I would love to see that implemented. I know we talked about it on a couple occasions, but I'd love to see those put in. We have a lot of people that use bikes, tourists, residents alike, and there's just there's a lack of place to be able to park your bike down at the pass, down at the beach, all those places. So I'd like to see that. And then secondly, I would just like to, I guess, voice my continued displeasure at the parking situation at Tom and Kitty Stewart Park. I really would like that to be, I know you guys are working right now with caddies and getting like a new parking situation happening over there and across the street, but I'd really like to see the parking for Tom and Kitty Park be a separate entity. I don't like that it's been lumped together, and I just wanted to voice my continued displeasure about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, next is consent agenda.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is public hearings. First is ordinance 2022-18, property rights element of the comprehensive plan, second reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2022-18, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending the city of Madeira Beach comprehensive plan, creating a new section 15 to be titled property rights element, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2022-18 by title only.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this amongst the commission?
Okay, just an explanation. This is something that we have to add to the city code just so we match the state. It's a right of property owners to physically possess their property, their the right to own, maintain, develop, right to privacy, and the ability to dispose of it as they wish. So it's not anything unexpected or unusual. It's just we now have to add it to our code.
Is that correct, Jenny?
Yes, that's correct. It's a requirement from the Florida state statute.
Okay. Anyone else? Is there any public comment on this? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-18.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2022-20, section 110-93, 3E, addition of R3 to elevating non-conforming residential structures, second reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
This is ordinance 2022-20, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending chapter 110 zoning, article 3, nonconformances, section 110-93, intent concerning nonconforming property structure and uses of code of ordinances of the city of Madeira Beach to include the R3 zoning district, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2022-20 by title only.
Is there any more discussion amongst the commission?
Okay, what this is doing is allowing, we previously allowed R1 and R2 to increase the height to prevent flooding. And Mr. Kerr suggested we added R3. So R3 properties can also be elevated with and keep the same setbacks that they have at the current level.
Makes sense to me. Anyone else? Is there any public comment on this? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to pass. Where'd I go? 2022-20 on second reading.
Second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Who was that seconded? Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2022-21, amending section 2-507 to allow variances for private docks, second reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2022-21, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 8, Special Magistrate, Section 2-507, variances of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Madeira Beach to provide for a dock design variance process, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2022-21 by title only.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion amongst the commission?
Okay, this is two parts. First one is just allow the magistrate to make that process to go for people that have disagreements with their neighbors over docks. And the second one is the actual ordinance to allow, to show how that process happens. Is that correct?
There's two amendments. So you have ordinance 22-21, and that's amending section 2-507. And that's where you have the design criteria that's where you have the special magistrate hearing process. And then after this, you'll hear 2022-22, and that goes into the design criteria for private docks. So they go together.
Thank you, Jenny. Is there any more discussion on this? Is there any public comment on this? May I have a motion on ordinance 2022-21?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-21, amending section 2-507 to allow variance on private docks.
Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2022-22, amending section 14-205, variances for private docks, second reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2022-22, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 14, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 5, Marine Structures, Division 3, Docks, Section Design Criteria for Private Docks of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Madeira Beach to provide for a variance process, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2022-22 by title only.
Thank you. Is there any discussion amongst the commission? Is there any public comment on this? Is there a motion?
I move we pass ordinance 2022-22, amending section 14-205 variances for private docks.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2022-23, fees and collection procedure manual, first reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is ordinance 2022-23, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending the fees and collections procedures manual that was amended by ordinance 2021-28, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an immediate effective date. That was a reading of ordinance 2022-23 by title only.
Is there any discussion amongst the commission?
Yes, I would like to discuss the impact fees. At our workshop, our last workshop, our city attorney, Mr. Trask, did some investigation regarding not being able to split residential versus commercial. My understanding is that it can be, it just, the procedure on how it is calculated versus, it's my understanding, instead of per square foot, it's per equivalent living unit. By doing that, you'd be able to separate residential if they wanted to increase or raise their resident, single-family home to mitigate for flood, that they would not be impacted or additional cost and impact fee to the city if it were larger square footage of air-conditioned space or living space than it is now. That's was my understanding. Mr. Trask, do you have anything to add to that?
I did do a little bit of the investigation. I provided the commission with the results of my discussions with the attorney for Flagler Beach, as well as the analysis that was done and the comments relative to how they calculated it versus how the city of Madeira Beach calculates impact fees. Obviously, when Mr. Murphy did it, he did it by per square footage. That town does not. If you were going to change it to something other than per square footage, you would need to amend your current code section, section or chapter 92, dealing with impact fees. That would require probably Mr. Murphy to do an additional study and provide you with his analysis of the data and how it would affect the city and the resources of the city in the future. So it can be done, but it would require another, in my mind, complete review of the impact fee process that you went through before.
Well, I was on the planning commission during that time, and it took about 6 months, and about 5.5 months were going through the code and crossing Ts and dotting Is. It wasn't until the very last meeting, in my recollection, that the cost was even brought to our attention. And when I asked several times if the residential could be separated from commercial, it was just a flat no. No discussion was made on how it was being calculated. Equivalent living units wasn't even brought up. So I took that honestly as just hiding something. In my opinion, I want to live in an area that people are not penalized for wanting to raise their home to mitigate for flood. And anyone in the right mind is going to spend that kind of money to demo their home and raise it and not put the features that they want, whether that's a home office, an indoor laundry, air-conditioned stairs, a larger kitchen with an island, any of that. I don't see how that impacts the city of Madeira Beach, and it's just flat wrong.
Well, first, I understood as I understood, we could not change what we've got or it nullified it. Is that correct, Mr. Trask? There was some discussion on it had to be in place by a certain date. And once it was in place, that's what you had to go by, or if you changed it, it nullified it.
So I think what Mr. Murphy was going with that is that he created this data, or he collected this data and provided it to the city commission. And the statute, the way it reads is that you have to set your impact fees based upon the most recent or current data. And I think that he was concerned that the farther you get away from the data collection date, let's say if you collected it on January of 2021 and you don't get to adopting your ordinance until 4 years later, well, that information or that data is stale. And I think that's where he was going for. I believe my recollection is that he wanted that data to be within about a 12-month period of time so that you don't have to worry about that argument in the future that the data that you used to calculate the impact fees was old, outdated, inaccurate. And so I think that that's the reason why he was pushing to get it adopted within a certain period of time. And you remember now, in addition to that, the way the statute reads, you can only adopt increases in increments. In addition, the statute says that you have to wait at least 90 days after you adopt it before it becomes effective. So all these windows of time and opportunities were having to be dealt with when the ordinance was, ultimately adopted. I'm not saying that Mr. Kerr isn't correct, that you can't change it, but I'm just saying that for us to do that, we need to probably, and I again rely upon the expert, Mr. Murphy, to determine whether or not the data that we currently have can be used to recalculate the impact fee based upon an equivalent living unit versus square footage. So that's a roundabout way of saying is it doesn't necessarily mean that can't be done. It just means that we're going to have to do it over to be accurate.
So go back to the drawing board. Explain to me equivalent living unit.
So an equivalent living unit, the way Flagler Beach has it set up is that each home is its own living unit. And it's not based upon the square footage of the building. So if you had a 400 square foot living unit and you increased it to 1,800 square feet, it's still one living unit. And so you're going to be paying your impact fees based upon one living unit, no matter what the size of the structure is. And I think that that's where Mr. Kerr is going is that, look, if you're going to raise your 400 square foot home, you're going to probably want to add some additional things to it, your bigger kitchen, bathroom, whatever, that would increase the square footage. And therefore, under Flagler Beach's calculations, there would be no additional impact fee that would be charged. I can tell you that in the email that I received from the attorney from Flagler Beach, he had said that it was his understanding that, well, he says, also for what it's worth, I think Flagler Beach is in the process of conducting a new study. And when that is done, I suspect it may be updating its impact fee system. So although it's not been complete, it looks to me like they are probably going to change the way they do it. I just don't know for sure. That's his thinking on it. It will probably be changed the way they do it, whether it's by square footage or some other way.
Do you think they're running into legality issues?
No, I did not get that at all from the
Okay.
conversations I had through the emails. Not at all.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, actually, I'm completely confused now because I remembered after these, well, let me just start with this. First off, I'm 1000% in agreement with Commissioner Kerr. From the beginning of this, I thought that doing a residential impact fee was almost a detriment to the community. If we're trying to get people to hit FEMA regulations and build their homes the correct way, and then you got to tack on another 30 grand in impact fees or $25,000 in impact fees, well, that's not a really good, I mean, we're going to make our money back on taxes over time anyway with the new structure that we've got. So, I lost on the last one, but I was told that every 12 months we had to renew this. We had to go through this process again, not go through the whole thing, but we'd have to look at it again and say, okay, these are working, these numbers are working, and stamp of approval on it and go. So we might have to get Mr. Murphy back out here because I was completely under the impression that every 12 months we had to redo this and re-sit through this and at least discuss it again in order to approve it again for the following year. Maybe that's where the 12-month thing came in, Tom, because yeah, I never knew this was going to be permanent. This was going to be something that we could take a look at for a year, review, and see where we're going to go in the future. But as far as the residential, if we can cut out the residential, I think, like I said, to me, it's a detriment to the community, to people that live here that want to better their homes and things along the lines there, to tack them on with an extra 25, 30 or whatever the numbers were going to be. I know we were talking about somebody's house at one point and they had an example and it was a pretty simple rebuild. And we're, just they're knocking down the current house, they're building it to FEMA standards and they're adding a bathroom or something like that. It was going to be a $30,000 impact fee on them. I just think that's ludicrous. So that's my 2 cents.
I also want to bring to your attention that this ordinance here that you're talking about tonight is just regurgitating what's already in your code. It doesn't adopt a new impact fee. This is just saying, hey, all these fees throughout the entire code book, we're going to put them in this little tiny pamphlet or this little tiny procedures manual so that everybody that's looking at it knows what all the fees are for the city. So you're not changing it, you're not adding to it, you're just regurgitating the same values that are in your code book in this ordinance. So you're not doing anything new. There are some of them, some of these fees that you talked about at the workshop and so forth that you're increasing, but the impact fee ones are not being changed. They're exactly the same. They're just regurgitating them and putting them in, instead of looking all over the code, they're in one spot.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm fine with not having them on residential, but as I remember, we were told we couldn't separate the two. So if there's a way to separate them, I'm all for pursuing that if we can legally do it. So maybe we need to, my suggestion would be to approve the fees and collection procedure manual and go back and take another look at the impact fees
Yeah,
and whether or
I'm
not we
completely
can.
fine with that. I just, Tom, I'm just looking at that, what's on the board here right now. Impact fees were adopted beginning on April 1st, 2022, and impact fees are updated annually beginning October 1st each year through fiscal year 2028 in accordance with the schedule below. So do we have to update them annually for October 1st for this new budget is my question then.
No, you've already done that. So this schedule that you're seeing on page 93 of 225, when you adopted your ordinance, you already adopted the changes from 2022 all the way to 2028. So even though it mentions that it's going to be changed, you've already got it in the code. So FY 2022, for example, culture and recreation is $3.50. On October the 1st of 2023, or I'm sorry, yeah, 2022, because it's fiscal year 2023, it's going to change to $4.76 and so on. So that's already in your code. You've already done it for the next 6 years. It's in place. Just small increments because the statute doesn't allow you to adopt them all at once. You have to do it on a percentage basis.
Okay, but I think the ordinance says that we would review it yearly. And I think the city manager was talking about like a December time of looking at this again. Should we have done it earlier in the time for the yearly increase in October? Or are we okay looking at it in December and changing it then?
You can change any of your ordinances at any time. It just requires 2 public hearings. So there's no deadline. So if you don't change it, this is the way it's going to go from 2022 all the way to 2028. But that doesn't mean that you can't come back in and change it, change the structure of how you want to assess it or how you want to collect it and the dollar amount as well. But
So,
this is the way it's going to be for the next 6 years unless you change it.
so can we look at amending our ordinance in a way that we can separate commercial and residential?
So that's what Mr. Murphy would need to come back on and give you,
Okay.
as a consultant, to give you some idea. And I think the answer is that you probably can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm all for putting that on a workshop and getting Mr. Murphy to take a look at it and see what we need to do.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to just take a second to thank Mr. Trask for his work and for the commission for having that understanding. Appreciate it. So real quickly, so by passing the fee schedule, the ordinance overrules the fee schedule regardless. So we can pass the fee schedule and it's not a big deal.
They cannot be inconsistent, okay? If they're, so it is just basically a regurgitation of what the other portion of the code says. They're not different. They're exactly the same.
Right, but
Yeah.
3 months from now, 6 months from now, if the impact fee schedule changes, it would automatically update in the fee schedule.
We would need to do both, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this?
Hello, Chelsea Nelson, 420 Boca Ciega Drive. I'd encourage you not to pass it tonight. I feel like, I don't know about you all, but I wasn't aware of the impact fee schedule change in April, and I saw it come up on the Madeira Beach Board of Commission meeting. And that's why I came down here today, because it is a significant burden on residential structures. And I would encourage you to separate them out. And if it's not possible to separate them, I mean, perhaps there's a way that you can give credit for the square footage that's already impacted. So if you're building a 2,000 square foot house, but you already have an 18,000 or an 1,800 square foot house, maybe you're only paying the impact fees then on the additional two.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay. But I would like to see it not be at all for residential. But I feel like if you pass the pamphlet, I realize that it's just codifying what's already in the ordinance. But if you're looking to amend it, I feel like it sends the wrong message that you went ahead and said, yeah, we're gonna do this. So I don't know. I like where we're going though and redacting that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just Jeff Beggins, 429 Boca Ciega Drive. I remember the whole impact fee study and the passion that Commissioner Kerr had for separating that residential and a proponent for that. No other local beach community does it. And so I think we talked about that back then. So to be the only town that penalizes residential, I don't think is a smart move from a real estate broker hat on. And from a resident, I think it's great to reworkshop that. So thank you guys for kicking that back around.
Anyone else? Is there a motion on ordinance 2022-23?
We discussed just our options.
Can
for
I,
amended
can I
here.
just ask one more clarification question?
Sure.
If we pass this ordinance, it doesn't mean that even at our next workshop, we couldn't start workshopping the separation.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
And we can go ahead and get it on the end of September's workshop.
Yeah, whether we pass this or not, this is
Yeah.
still the ordinance.
Yeah,
Even-
it's still
even-
got-
so
Right, it already exists.
It already exists, so we have to go back and do this
Got it.
anyway. So just
Thank you.
passing this approves everything else.
It approves all the other stuff we talked
Yep.
about.
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-23.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2022-24, amending chapters 14, section 14-122, definition of improvement, second reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2022-24, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending chapter 14, building and building regulations, article 3, residential, commercial, business, and industrial minimalist standards, division 3, underground utilities, section 14-122, definitions for terms used in this division, to revise the definition of improvement, providing for conflict and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2022-24 by title only.
Director Portel, are you still with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I believe this is just cleaning up some language in the ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct. To make it in keeping with the building code. Yes.
Okay. Any discussion amongst the commission? Is there any public comment?
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-24.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2022-25, amending section 14-30 Florida Building Code, scope, definition, second reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2022-25, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending subparagraph A of section 14-30, administration of the administration of the Florida Building Code. Article 2, technical codes and standards, chapter 14, building and building regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Madeira Beach to revise the provisions of the scope thereunder, providing for conflict and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2022-25 by title only.
Yeah, again, Director Portel, I think this is just bringing us in compliance with state of Florida.
Yes, that's correct. We have an obligation to do this, but they changed the building code, which made the connection unclear and made us responsible for putting some of this directly into our code, as opposed to expecting the Florida Building Code to handle it automatically.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion amongst the commission?
Okay, a more basic explanation, the way I understood it, that there's an administrative section of the Florida Building Code that is not in the most recent building code. And so we refer to that in our ordinances. So we are now going to refer to that old building code for that chapter.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Is there any public comment on this? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-25.
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2022-28, extend term of natural gas franchise agreement with Peoples Gas, TECO. First reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2022-28, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, extending the term of the non-exclusive natural gas franchise of Peoples Gas System, a division of Tampa Electric Company, for an additional 5 years, authorizing the assignment of the franchise to Peoples Gas System, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of TECO Energy, Inc., providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2022-28 by title only. As some background on this, you'll remember that the city adopted a gas franchise back in 2012. That franchise was for a 10-year period of time. When we drafted that ordinance back then, we also added into the franchise the ability to extend it through 1 5-year extension. TECO Energy, or Peoples Gas System, has asked for that additional 5-year extension. In addition, they have advised us that the company is being reorganized, and as a direct result of that, they're creating a new name. The new name would be People Gas System, Inc., and they're asking for the city not only to extend the franchise agreement for 5 years, but also to approve that assignment of the assets of the other company. So I prepared that ordinance to reflect that. That's what's before you today.
Thank you. Is there any comment amongst the commission? Is there any public comment on this? Is there a motion to approve
Like to make,
2022-28?
like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-28, extend the term of natural gas franchise agreement with Peoples Gas, TECO.
Is there a
A
second?
second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andrews,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2022-31, deleting fireworks display from special event definition. First reading and public hearing. Mr. Trask.
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2022-31, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending section 4-16 of Article 2, special events of chapter 42, offenses and miscellaneous provisions of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Madeira Beach by deleting the reference to firework displays in the definition of special event, providing for conflict and providing for an effective date. That was a reading of ordinance 2022-31 by title only.
Any discussion on this? I guess that would be no. Is there any public comment on this? Is there a motion?
I move we pass ordinance 2021-31, deleting fireworks display from special event definition.
2022.
2022-31.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andrews,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Okay, next is unfinished business. Board of Commissioners meeting schedule. I think the only one we may have a question on is December's. And it's got December 14th, the workshop and regular meeting, both starting at 6 p.m. I would think if we're going to do those both on that day, we may want to go 4 p.m. on the workshop and 6 p.m. on the regular meeting.
Mr. Hendricks, if we could, I'd like to say a couple things about this since our last workshop. I felt that I probably should have shared this information with you from the beginning. When I retired last year, it's August 5th, I started receiving my pension checks from the Florida retirement system. One of the stipulations of the Florida retirement system is that I do not work for another employer, a Florida retirement system employer, FRS employer, for 1 year. Naturally, when I considered running for commissioner, I wanted to make sure that City of Madeira Beach was not an FRS employer. So I just made a casual call to Human Resources. And I was told, yeah, we're not an FRS employer. So I went forward with my campaign, won the election, went to the meeting where I was with Human Resources, where I did the paperwork to get paid, confirmed again, we're not an FRS employer. Was told, no, we're not. One of the first meetings I came to, there was discussion at the finance portion, and the word Florida retirement system came up, and I got nervous because I was afraid that I was going to lose my entire pension. So I called Florida retirement system. I wanted to be upfront. I said, this is what happened. And they said, well, the City of Madeira Beach Fire Department participates in FRS. So the entire City of Madeira Beach is considered an FRS employer. At that time, I had to make the decision if I was going to continue before I even started to be a commissioner and lose my pension for 6 months, which was my only source of income, or if I was going to honor my commitment and remain a commissioner and sacrifice that. I talked to Mr. Trask about it, talked to Mr. Gomez about it. Mr. Trask provided me some verbiage that I provided to FRS. During that time, my husband and I had a long talk about finances, and we decided I won the election with a 10% lead, 11% lead, which shows me I owe the residents of this city to do this job. So he took a job with the state of Florida, finding employment for high school students. And I started taking other freelance gigs as a professional musician. Mr. Kerr and Mr. Hudson made valid arguments regarding changing of times, but it was implied that I am not committed to this job. So before we take this vote, I want to make it very clear. I'm literally paying to do this job. I think that shows commitment to the position of the Board of Commissioners. That said, since our last workshop, I was able to sub out, find musicians to take my place for 2 of the jobs at my cost. And it turns out there were no conflicts. There were 2 that were not a conflict. So there's really 4. October 12th, October 14th, December 14th, March 8th, March 22nd. I'd love to see us start at 2 o'clock on those days. Maybe, if not 2 o'clock, maybe move them to Mondays. There's never a conflict for me on a Monday. If those 2 options aren't possible, at least let me have 2 of them, which is how many reschedulings I've agreed to since I've been on this board. Thank you for your consideration.
Floor is open for discussion. I think I've missed 2 times or missed once and moved one once in my 2.5 years. This is something that I don't take lightly, moving these meetings. We talk about transparency, openness. I don't think on any kind of regular basis, we should be moving meetings. All of our residents know they're the 2nd and 4th Wednesday at 6 p.m. as mostly a general rule, unless we've got a special meeting like on budget and whatnot. So I think that's what we need to stick with. Like I say, unless there is something that comes up. I know the one time I missed was when my brother passed away, something I had no control over, but to be moving meetings because someone has a music gig he has to attend or something like that. I don't know. You make a commitment when you go into this job.
Excuse me, just to be clear.
No,
it's a job,
don't interrupt me.
not a
I did-
music gig.
I did
Don't
not
downplay
interrupt
it.
you, and please don't interrupt me. So I don't think it's something that needs to be done on a regular basis. And again, I'll point out that 2 meetings were missed between March and June when Commissioner Taglerini was sworn in, right after Commissioner Taglerini was sworn in, and the entire month of June was missed. And Mr. Taglerini knew what days our meetings were held when he ran for office. He knew what the pay was when he ran for office, though he has complained about it doesn't pay much of anything. I'm not for moving the meetings on any regular basis.
To be clear, it's not a music gig thing, it's employment. And as I mentioned, I've sacrificed my pension to do the job. And I resent the implication that I don't take it seriously and that I don't understand the commitment.
Well, I'm simply going by what you said at the workshop. And you used
A
the
music
word,
gig is the termination for
you used,
employment.
thank you very much. You used the term gig yourself at the workshop and said you didn't know when you were going to have those things coming up. They came up all of a sudden. So any other comments?
Mr. Kerr, you are not able to make it, or it cost you to make it during the day, correct?
I'm self-employed. I can come anytime I need to come.
Okay.
Which I do on a regular basis whenever we need to meet early for sessions or, so I take that into consideration. When I do that, I'm unavailable for my business. I have a small business. I am basically my business. It's something that I can work around. It's just not something that I want to, if I wouldn't have run if a regular meeting was during the day at 2 o'clock, because that would not have fit my lifestyle. My question for Commissioner Taglerini would be, okay, what happens after February? Is it going to be March, April, May, the same type of situation? The mayor brought up a good point that it's not fair for the residents because they work, most or many. It's not fair for Mr. Trask. He has scheduled out his time. He has other commitments. So it's not whether we're to be kind or not to adjust, understand financially. So it's a tough situation, but me personally, I don't plan to try to ask the commission to change any of their dates. I don't think it's right to do it for a regular basis. But I'll adjust, whatever.
Mr. Kerr, to answer your question, this is my schedule through next October. It's 4 days from now until next October.
Okay, so that answers part of it. So we're talking. So your schedules, you're scheduled out throughout the year, basically. And you're looking for some consideration on at least 2 of these.
Mr. Trask, if you have break dancing lessons and anything that's going on, that takes precedence over this. Do you have any other nights available?
So it all depends. As of October the 9th, I'm going to have the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month available. And if it's a Monday night, I just need to look at the calendar because the city of Bel Air Bluffs holds their meetings on 2 of the Monday nights out of the month, which is usually the 2nd and 3rd Monday of the month. So, yeah, yes, I do have other commitments. I would just need to know the date that you're suggesting, and I'll take a look at my calendar. So.
We went over this, we went over our entire handbook in April of this past year, as we do after every election. And we went over when the meetings were to be scheduled. So, and what are your dates that you're talking about now, Mr. Taglerini?
October 12th, December 14th, March 8th, March 22nd.
Wait a minute, October 12th, December 14th,
March 8th, March 22nd. And those meetings aren't on the calendar yet. Those are just dates that I know I'm not available. And of course, as I said, Mondays are always available if we want to keep it at 6 on that week.
well,
Mr. Mayor, and Commissioner, just to interrupt, are we required to have public hearings to begin not before 5 p.m. for ordinances or?
No.
Okay. Sorry, just a question.
No
Just to
requirement
confirm.
that I'm aware of. Clara, is there any requirement you're aware of?
For-
Only millage rate and the budgets has to be after 5 o'clock.
Millage rate and budget has to be after 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay,
Those are the only
and
two.
thank you. Just to confirm.
we are allowed 2 unexcused absences during the year.
My understanding is 3 consecutive.
Yeah, 3
3
consecutive.
consecutive.
So
Hmm.
The only other consideration I would say is, look, I mean, we all got to be compassionate here and we got to, if it's a one-off, it's not a big deal. But I think the problem with the Mondays, Dave, is with staff, because they've got to prepare everything. And it's usually easier to give them a couple of days during the beginning of the week to get their stuff together and get the package together so it gets out on time. I think we just put a little bit of extra pressure on them. So, if we're going to change one or two meetings and bump it up a couple hours, look, I think we could all, if we can all be available for it and Tom's available and the staff can be prepared for it. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. It's just not the five of us that gets to decide. I mean, it is the five of us get to decide it, but we also have some other things we have to consider so that we make sure the meetings are done efficiently and correctly. So, if it's just these 4 dates, I mean, if we want to move a couple of times around, I don't see any reason why I couldn't, heck, I own a 24-hour convenience store. You guys want to do this at 3 a.m.? I'm your guy, man. I'll come in here and we can rock. But it's up to you guys. Whatever you want to do, I'm in. I mean, we can, like I said, I think as a courtesy to Dave, let's try to work it through now and let's try to make it a habit. We know what the times are going forward and we just go from there.
Yeah, and you can also just be absent for a meeting. I mean, that's an option also.
So I didn't write down the dates. 2 of the 4 dates are within the schedule that we have here.
October 12th and 12/14 are already on the calendar. March 8th and March 22nd, we don't have the dates that far forward yet.
Right, but the other ones are because it's.
Because it's already on the
regular
calendar.
meeting.
Right. And March 8th and March 22nd, those are the days of the month when we generally have a meeting, so that's why.
Right.
Put those on there.
How about Wednesday, October 5th at 6 p.m.? What does that do?
I'm available. I'm available on that, October 5th.
How does the commission feel about moving that date?
Go ahead, Claire.
It's fine by me.
Okay.
Only thing would send it to the October the 5th. We have first readings that was adopted, that passed tonight, that has to be advertised. And according to the city charter, they have to be advertised at least 20 days before the second reading and public hearing, and you can't count the day of the meeting. So that day will be a conflict with the advertising.
So how about the 19th?
I am available on the 19th.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I like where you're going here. If that comment's worth anything. Okay, so on Wednesday, if that's okay with everyone, Wednesday, October 19th, 6 p.m., regular commission meeting. And we will have 1 week between the regular meeting and the workshop. December 14th is going to be a tough one to shuffle. Because we're coming into the holiday season where everyone is probably already made plans for the holidays.
I think I would agree. We're going to be starting at 4 anyway.
Yeah. Well, because of the workshop. That baby one, you have to just miss, Commissioner Taglerini.
Understood.
We've got October moved. And then we'll address March 8th and March 22nd on down the road. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Thank you for your consideration.
Is there any public comment on this?
Jean Farnan, 574 Johns Pass Avenue. I'd like to remind the mayor that I attended a 2 o'clock meeting here, commission meeting, based on a personal situation where you had to move it up. But I really think you have to cooperate and you have to kind of weigh things out. But the most wonderful thing about having meetings early are, you see all these staff people back here? That would give them a little bit of a break, that they could go home before 9 o'clock. So I think the public, if you have enough notice that a meeting is going to be earlier, then that's not a problem. It's just if there's not enough notice. But and you know, we can always email our comments. But I think that it would be the very best thing for the staff. Thank you.
Yes, we also have residents to consider. Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to approve the schedule?
I'll make a motion to
With-
approve the schedule with the change of the 12th to the 19th of October for the regular meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is contracts and agreements. First is fiscal year 2023, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office contract for law enforcement services. Mr. Trask, do you have anything on this, or do I need to go to our city manager?
Mayor, I do not have anything. I was not
Okay.
involved in this. Thank you.
Good enough.
Okay.
We've been over it. I don't know that
Yes.
we really need to
There's
go over it
no
again.
changes.
Any discussion about it amongst the commission? Is there any public comment on this? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve fiscal year 23 Pinellas County Sheriff's Office contract for law enforcement services.
Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Andrews,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is approval of this has got 2022. Should that be 2023 on here? Item B.
The answer to the question is it's going to be dated October 1, 2022, so it is accurate,
Okay.
Mayor. Okay.
All right. Approval of 2022 Emergency Medical Services, ALS First Responder Agreement. Is there any discussion amongst the commission?
I think this is an agreement where the county provides money to Madeira Beach for these services. And it's an increase from what it has been in the past. So it makes sense.
No. Chief Belt, do you have any comments you want to make on this?
It's a 3-year agreement, so we bring this to the commission every 3 years for approval. Like I stated in the past, they have an allowable 3% increase every year, which of course we go to 3%. This past year, just with the new union contract, inflation, everything else, we petitioned for 7.11% increase, which was approved. So the first time in the history of this agreement since 1989 that we've been approved for a raise over 3%. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments amongst the commission? Is there any public comment on this? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 Emergency Medical Services ALS First Responder Agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor, Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is Gulf Boulevard Underground Task 2 approval. Any? Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm just here if you have any questions. This is what we talked about at the workshop. This is for the final phase of Gulf Boulevard undergrounding to complete. The only thing we will be having come before you will be the BCE from Duke Energy, which we should have any day.
Hey. Good deal. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any comments amongst the commission?
No.
Any public comment on this? Is there a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve the Gulf Boulevard Undergrounding Task 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini.
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
This is going to be a busy little town this coming winter. Get a bicycle, folks. Okay, next is Park Street lease agreement.
Hello again.
Oh, it's you again.
It's me again. So this is just, this is our building. We call it our Blue Barn over off of Bay Pines where our mechanic is and our sanitation is. So the lease that you have in front of you is for an annual basis with the hopes of building a building on this side of the island. So this is for 23-24, 1 year, and then with the option of 4 one-year renewals.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
Any discussion amongst the commission? Any public comments on this? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Park Street lease agreement.
So second,
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Andrews,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Okay, next is Planning Commission appointments. And hopefully everyone has read the applications from each of the applicants.
Put your name on.
Okay, what I would like to do is ask each applicant to come up and just say a few words. Tell us about yourself and why you would like to be on the commission.
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
Anne Marie Brooks. I currently serve on the Planning Commission, and it has been an honor serving as a Planning Commissioner of Madeira Beach. In my time on this commission, I've had the pleasure of researching, learning, and questioning about the items that have come before the Planning Commission. I have worked hard to identify and understand all of the public concerns that have been expressed to me via phone calls, comments to me personally, or through all the different social media outlets that make sure that our city is represented well at my desk. The process of learning what to ask and where to look for all of the information you need is not simple, but one that I have enjoyed and that I have gotten very good at. I would enjoy the opportunity to continue volunteering contributing my time and energy to the residents of Madeira Beach, and to you and our commissioners, our city commissioners, if you so choose to allow me. I would also like to say one more thing. We do not get very many attendees at the Planning Commission meetings. Rarely does anyone even show up. I would encourage all of our residents to attend and hear the discussion of upcoming items. I believe the discussions that we have provide great insight into what topics are being discussed, not only within the Planning Commission, but that end up with the city commissioners that end up here. I think a lot of times people don't really know what we do because they don't come. They only hear word of mouth. So I really enjoyed it. If I get to come back, that'll be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda Baldwin, is Amanda here? Matthew LaRue?
Good evening. My name is Matthew LaRue. Thank you for the opportunity to come up and introduce myself. I'm here with my wife Ginger. We're really grateful to live in Madeira Beach. I applied to be on the Planning Commission because I'm personally passionate about our built and our natural environment, especially on our amazing barrier island of Madeira Beach, and how those two environments interact with one another. By trade, I am an electrical engineer. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Florida. Throughout my career, my main focus has been facilities design, some site design, master planning, sustainability. And I felt that the Planning Commission opportunity was a way where I could marry my passion, my expertise, and be of service to our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone on the commission have any questions for the applicants?
Matthew, and on the projects that you've managed, have they been all like electrical projects? Or do they include some, do you lower yourself to do like civil engineering?
Yeah, so the scope of work that I usually do, I'm working with architects, I'm working with planners, civil engineering. Like I said, I go into horizontal work as well as vertical work. So I have a fair amount of experience and kind of dabbling in a lot of different areas. Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else? Mr. Trask, I don't think we need public comment on this, do we?
I definitely think you should ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okey doke. Any public comment? All right, if everyone will place their votes on this, and Clara, if you could pick these up from us, please, and do the totals.
And just remind, everybody has to sign or initial their ballots, so we know who made the votes. Otherwise, it'd be considered a secret ballot, and it's not appropriate. So please sign them.
Okay.
Okay, we have Anne Marie Brooks. She has 5 votes. Amanda Baldwin, 2 votes. And Matthew LaRue, 3 votes. And I will read what each commissioner voted. Commissioner Hudson, he chose Anne Marie Brooks and Matthew LaRue. Vice Mayor Andrews, Anne Marie Brooks and Amanda Baldwin. Mayor Hendricks, Anne Marie Brooks, Matthew LaRue. Commissioner Kerr, Anne Marie Brooks, Amanda Baldwin. Commissioner Taglerini, Anne Marie Brooks, and Matthew LaRue.
Well, welcome to our newest zoning and planning commissioners. Next is staff reports. Who's going first? Who's on first?
I can proceed, I guess.
Okay.
If that's all right with you.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, and this past, just up here on the screen, we have sorry, it should be a little bigger. The city manager's report for the month of August. It's also available online through public meetings agendas at our website, maderabeachfl.gov. There's a selection for city manager reports every month, and it's a good opportunity just for the public to learn a little bit about what individual departments are doing, the levels of activity in the prior month. What I've done since my time here is provide quite a bit of reminders, information, upcoming events, activities, a recap of events, activities. So please, I encourage folks to read it, ask questions, give us some feedback. That's very, very much appreciated. And as Ms. Brooks stated, we do encourage people to get involved, to attend our meetings, to contact us. That's why we're here. The first page of this month's city manager's report includes the different ways that people can communicate with us via online, email. You may text me, you may call me. The main number for the city is up there. And of course, we do welcome folks to come in person as well. As I stated, we also provide lots of reminders and some suggestions, some hints, some reminders, specifically this past month, as particularly those of you who have kids in school. Public school started I think on August the 10th. I want to thank the chief, and I think it was shift day that was on schedule that day, reminding folks that school has started again. We have school buses, we have kids walking. Please drive attentively, carefully, which is what we should always be doing. But keep in mind that school is in session and will be in session at least through May. Also reminding folks, since it's still the summer, we have actually 7 or 8 days left of summer, though, according to the calendar, but it's still crazy hot. We get the summer storms that pop up. Make sure folks stay hydrated. Those of you that do go out and enjoy our natural beauty, remember to make sure you wear safety devices, whether boating, swimming, etc. Take care of your pets as well. They need the love and attention every day. We continue to have annual cleanups, thanks to both our trash pirates of Madeira Beach and the trash turtles. So as I tell my family, I'm going pirating on a Saturday, or I'm going turtling. And I have to clarify, turtling is going and helping with the trash turtles to keep our city clean. I'm not going out and looking for turtles. But we encourage folks to participate. The schedules we put on our website, on our Facebook page. This Saturday, there's actually a special. We have a amphibious land sea cleanup. So everybody's encouraged to attend. They can just clean up their neighborhood or come here to our Rock Park. You can register online if you want to participate. It's a contest. We'll be providing prizes to certain categories, those that collect the largest amount of trash, those that collect the most unusual trash item, most cigarette butts, etc. So again, thank you to those two main groups, and certainly to everybody that does care about their city. It's not always about the money, although it is obviously you need the money to provide the services, but we did receive checks today for a little over 1.6 million. But what we do hear most from residents and visitors is the cleanliness of our city and how we have so many dedicated residents and even visitors. I've encountered people who are down here on vacation and they went out, got a bucket, and grabbed her and helped keep our sand, our streets, Johns Pass Village, boardwalk clean. So very much appreciated. As if any of you who arrived just before this meeting, we did have a special meeting to adopt our budget. Well, the millage rate and the budget for next year included in the manager's update, a little bit, some highlights from our fiscal 23 budget. Our fiscal year starts October 1. So in a couple of weeks, we count down to the new year and celebrate the end of one and the beginning of another one. But again, we do encourage folks to take a look at the city's budget. We keep multiple years on our webpage and certainly the next year's budget. The next public hearing to adopt the millage rate, which as was stated earlier, this will be our fiscal 23 will be the 5th consecutive year of the same millage rate, 2.75. That means all property owners pay $2.75 for every $1,000 in valuation. And so that remains the same. Keep in mind that property taxes have two components: the valuation, which is completed by the property appraiser, the Pinellas County property appraiser. So values do increase from year to year. Our increase from the current year to next year's nearly a double-digit increase, but also the actual tax rate that the city levies. And remember, combined under, for those of you that do own property and receive a property tax bill, there are other taxing authorities on there, such as Pinellas County, the school district, and other smaller entities such as, well, the county and other smaller entities like Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, Southwest Florida Water Management District, et cetera. So lots of information available on our website. Other details, as I'd mentioned, upcoming events. We will be discussing at the next work session on Wednesday, September the 28th, after we have the public hearing to adopt the millage rate and the budget for next year. One of the items will be to discuss recycling. We did issue a request for proposals. Some of that information is in the monthly report, and we will be bringing that information to discuss on September the 28th. Just a quick preview, we received 4 replies, but again, we will, so that's good that at least it was more than one. We have some options. We will be bringing that back up to a public meeting here on the 28th. As I stated earlier, lots of activity from other throughout the entire city. We continued celebrating our 75th anniversary, and into next year we'll still be holding other events and activities sort of related to that, but to continue to just share the pride and the honor that we have of our city. Lots of projects, as the mayor mentioned a few moments ago. It's a busy little city for 4,000, not even 4,000 residents, and 2 miles long and a smile wide. You can see a list of a lot of our projects, from the groins to the upcoming dredging at Johns Pass, to streets that will be milled and repaved, that will include a few of the parking lots, to the undergrounding on Gulf Boulevard, and just lots happening. So we will put out information as it does become available. The sooner the better, so that residents know what's coming up. But I do encourage, as the mayor said, let's bicycle or walk a little bit more. Unfortunately, sometimes it will be a little difficult to go down Gulf Boulevard. And as I mentioned, also a list of some of the upcoming events from our meetings here, to mention the amphibious event this Saturday, to we will be having essentially monthly either a breakfast with the city manager or a town hall type conversations with the city manager every month. So an opportunity for all of you, all of our residents and businesses to attend. We'll have them at different times of the day, or try to schedule one in the morning, one in the evening, to give everyone an opportunity to see staff in person, give us your thoughts, your ideas, what may need attention, what we can do better. And the next breakfast with the city manager will be right here on September the 29th at 9 a.m. And we will have breakfast available. Also, took a pause on the final Friday events for any of you who have attended those at John's Pass right there at the bell tower. That will begin back in we will bring that back in October. I believe that date is October 30th, the last Friday of the month. And again, we do list some upcoming events. As we heard earlier today from Representative Linda Cheney, she's hosting a Veterans Resource event this Friday, which will be at the Lealman Exchange Center. And again, to reiterate, anyone can sign up through our app and to receive information. You can register your email address and receive updates and all the news that the city provides, just so that everyone stays informed. Again, we continue reminding folks of still hurricane season out there. We hope I'm not sure if since this meeting started, they named the invest from this morning or earlier this afternoon, but I believe the next, if it forms, would be Fiona. So, and if anybody ever saw the movie Shrek, I'm just going to call the hurricane Princess Fiona. So we may be getting a visit from Princess Fiona, but hopefully she visits us in many, many years down the road. And also it's still sea turtle nesting season. Please help us to leave no trace out on our sand. And also another update that I think some residents have inquired, and I know Commissioner Kerr has mentioned at these meetings, there is an organization called the Barrier Islands Governmental Council. So that's a group comprising the 11 coastal communities from St. Pete Beach all the way up to the Sea City up in the north to Clearwater. And essentially it's mostly mayors that meet monthly to discuss issues that are pretty much relevant to all of us, anything relating to transportation, the upcoming no smoking possibility on the sand, to sea turtle nesting. I think the last speakers focused, there've been speakers from the property appraisers, the supervisor of elections. So those updates are on their website, and I put that in the update, barrierislandscouncil.com. Those are meetings that are open to the public, so any of you may attend. They're scheduled monthly, the last Wednesday of the month. Fortunately or unfortunately, they begin at 9 a.m. It's a breakfast meeting, and they do rotate throughout the 11 cities. I believe the last one, Mayor, was in Clearwater. The next one it's on their website. I can't remember, but it's at the end of the month on Wednesday. And again, as I stated, just lots of activity from our departments. Our building department continues to stay, very active, lots of permits that are coming in. And a lot of the building permits that do come in have a planning and go to our planning department. They've been, reviewing and really moving those permits along to ensure that we can get those processed as quickly as possible. Our parking, we still had quite a high month. Just to update, this graphic shows the additional 50 cents per hour that was adopted last year. Our collections just from that additional 50 cents, we're up to $373,000. That obviously continues growing month to month after month. However, we're still well ahead of the prior years, of course, certainly ahead of 2020. Although August, we did decline a little bit from July, which was the city's highest month. We expect September to be a little bit smaller in collections due to, of course, the weather, lots of rain. So please take a look through the report. We do have our clerk put in here the upcoming election in November for our changes to our charter. There will be 3 proposed charter changes coming out the general election on November the 8th. So please go ahead and take a look at the information. There'll be, like I said, 3 proposed amendments, or 2, right, Clara? 2, excuse me. And our marina revenues, again, due to the price of gas, still continue to be outpacing the prior years, but really no significant changes through that. A list of all the projects, that a lot of them that have been mentioned, that Public Works manages. And as was stated briefly, we're looking hopefully this year to begin the process to construct a Public Works building where we can house the equipment that currently sits outside at our marina location. So, and we continue to, certainly the fire department, as you heard from them earlier today, activity and a comparable to prior years. Certainly our water rescues, not a significant change from one month to the other, but they are responding quickly to those. So we appreciate obviously everything that they do and certainly every one of our departments. And also still continue to work on our ordinance for the idling and the no wake that was adopted a couple years ago. So we hope to have that back up here, hopefully in October, just to give that final update. And again, appreciate the fire department, public works, recreation, really every department for the 9/11 ceremony a few days ago. Really appreciate all of their work and all the speakers and everybody who attended. Certainly a very moving event and appreciate everybody's work on that. So Mayor and Commissioner, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
One question I do have, we've discussed a time or two, an RFP on engineering. When
Yes.
is that engineering contract up and when will
It has, both of those have expired. We will be issuing the RFP,
Okay,
hopefully by October.
okay, thank you. That was the only question I had.
Great report.
Any other staff reports? Anybody want to fill us in on anything? Jamal, I know you're out there. You're the street warrior. Okay. Next is agenda setting for the September 28th, 2022 regular workshop. Right now, we've got Activity Center, beach groins, a Clarion consultant agreement, recycling presentation. There are two things I would like to add. One is that I brought up when we were in budget talks and increases for staff and whatnot. I have to say, I think Mr. Gomez has done an outstanding job for us. And what I would like to see, I discussed giving Mr. Gomez a bonus for this year with inflation and whatnot, and rents are through the roof, and I know he's renting here in Madeira Beach, and as an act of appreciation to him, we can't give him a bonus as such, like we discussed. We would have to amend his contract to give him that $5,000. I would like for us to discuss amending his contract and give him a $5,000 raise for the year 2023. So I would like that on the workshop, simply so we can discuss it. And the other thing I would like on there, as I know we discussed getting a public works building. And we don't normally do this, but on appropriations, I'd like to workshop appropriations to see what we would like to go to the state to get funding for. And I think the public works building is an ideal candidate for that, to try to get some state funding to get that building built. So in general, I would like to have some discussion on appropriations, and if y'all will, between now and that workshop, be thinking of things you might want on there. Keep in mind, it can't be a long grocery list. There, we can do a couple of items and that's about it. And the Public Works building is probably going to be a big one when you consider how much prices have gone up since, well, just in the past year or so. So that's all I've got is really appropriations and discussing Mr. Gomez's contract. So anything else from anyone else?
Nope, I like those two. A question, the activity center, are we talking about particularly John's Pass, or is this all the activity centers that we're discussing?
It's, I believe, it's specific to John's Pass.
So it'll
I
be
don't know, yeah.
similar to what they talked about in the planning commission meeting this
Yes.
week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as we continue with the process, because we did, Linda and staff did submit it to the county. And I think we received some comments back from the county. So it's to give you an update on where we are in the process.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Mayor and Commission, for the 28th, the impact fees that you mentioned earlier will be as an agenda item or item for that meeting.
Thank you for bringing that up. I was gonna bring it up as well. Not to put it on the agenda, it's a pretty full agenda, but I just don't want to lose track of the master plan. I'd like to get that in discussion. That's 20 years old, and at some point, I would like to get more of a plan on where the city wants to go architecturally. It all goes hand in hand with the activity centers, the public works building at the marina. You know, we need a plan to have a way forward, to have our goals. And then again, not for the agenda, but I just want to keep it in the discussion. Commissioner Hudson talking about the checklist for the PD. Want to keep some momentum there. And as far as the checklist for what we'd like to receive regular, for commercial properties, but also a simultaneous checklist for approvals, and use previous litigation as a kind of a checklist of what things may have been missed in the past to keep us out of litigation, to make sure we check all the boxes. So just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, reports and correspondence. Board of Commissioners, let's start down at your end.
I'm good.
Doug?
Nothing for me.
Okay, Doug. That was easy. City Manager, I think you've covered it on your end. City Attorney,
Nothing, thank you.
City Clerk,
I wanted to make a correction. The amount of days for the advertising is 14, but I have to get the advertisement into them at least 20 or 25 days. It takes me sometimes a week to get the proof back, so it is a conflict with the advertising. It would be tight, so
or would,
when
Would-
changing the date to an earlier date in the week.
okay,
If we
But there
have,
are times we can put off the second reading to another month. I mean, we have done that before.
okay. So I got it?
So I just wanted to make that correction. I
Okey-doke.
apologize.
All right, thanks. Having no other business, this meeting is adjourned at 7:52.